嗨，大家好，这里是大波胡。在太平洋时间5月25日上午，北京时间5月26日凌晨，微软模拟飞行开发团队举行了新一场在线 QA 直播，一如既往的在回答广大飞友各种疑问的同时，透露了不少未来的开发计划以及内幕讲解。本期视频是对此次官方节目的转播录像，先是要点总结，然后是节目的全程回放，旨在为大家带来最速报道。但这样及时的过程中，难免会出现遗漏甚至是事实错误的情况。相对的，在近期我也将会整合所有官方渠道的消息来制作完整的总结视频，还请关注频道，以便第一时间获得更新。行，先做下今儿总结。今儿1个半小时，讲的东西不少，但实际有用的信息不能说少，但也不多。好，一个一个来。首先，第一个，各位中国玩家比较关心的这个中文版的问题，今天只字未提，但只字未提基本就是说计划没变，所以我重复一下现在官方的计划是目标是7月更新，有可能提前，这是还是目前的计划。至于现在什么状态，我们就不知道了。首先是今天微软的负责人盛赞这一个月5月份第三方机模的这个状态，这个月涌现了不少超高品质的飞机插件。至于有啥呢，大家都知道，我就不再说了。官方提到一点，就是微软对现在的模拟飞行的看法是 Game as Service。XX as Service 现在是软件开发领域的一个热门话题，包括现在什么 Windows 都是 Windows as Service， 就是现在做软件已经包括模拟飞行，这代模拟飞行也是官方，就是他们微软已经不是那种我做完了我放这儿你们可以来随便，而是我是每天都在更新那种感觉，是这种 as Service 这个概念。官方提这句话给我直接感觉是他想堵 PMDG 的嘴，因为微软的负责人虽然没有明确指名道姓，但是他提到了有些第三方工作室对这种 Game as Service 有微词，但是以我对目前的理解，现在声音最大的对这方面骂声最狠的是 PMDG， 所以我估计是，我只能说猜。然后在今天的直播节目开始之前1个多小时的时候Top Gun壮志凌云主题 DLC 已经正式上线了，现在看到这期节目的玩家都可以登录游戏直接下载了，是个免费的扩展包。这个扩展包里就是今天花了一段时间去介绍这个扩展包的内容，但因为已经可以玩到了，所以我也不想详细说，大体介绍一下这扩展包有啥。扩展包是现在右边画面的是这是扩展包上线之后我自己录的，其中有一个是航母降落，这个航母降落是一个独立的挑战模式，这个航母很特殊，这个航母是能动的，就是现在在游戏里飞过第三方航母插件的应该都发现航母是固定不动的，是个地景，但是这个官方的航母是能动的，但现在只是一个固定挑战里，还没有世界地图上还没有，所以也期待以后会不会有做相关的事情。其他的包括还有5个低空高速飞行挑战，就是如果大家看这一代壮志凌云电影的预告片，你会发现预告片里有很多低空高速飞行的场景，然后他们把这些场景做到了游戏里，做成了专门的挑战模式。然后这个更新专门放了一个教学模式，教你怎么飞机动，不是说教你怎么开这个飞机，而是直接教你怎么飞这个飞机的机动，是那个教学。因为正好对应的是说到是这个模式，这个模式是你要在这个模式里保持低空高速，你飞得越低，你飞得越快，你拿分越高，这么个模式。然后游戏的亲经的那个3个 F18的教程是教你怎么去飞机动，然后会让你在这个模式里拿更高的分。最后还有一个叫暗星 Dark Star 的飞机，那个是这代壮志凌云电影里虚构的一架 SR71的后续机型，是个虚构的，然后游戏里这玩意儿能飞10马赫，能飞到地球轨道上去，是一个洲际导弹。为了庆祝这架飞机，然后又加了个专门的任务，是这架飞机在飞，是从美国西海岸飞到美国东海岸，好像飞半小时能飞10几分钟就能飞到，是吧？具体我是没操作过，但是飞10马赫，你可以想象一下。然后剩下的就是其他游戏内的后续更新的事情，然后先一个一个来。这次说的内容不是特别多，所以我就快速的略过来啊。首先是官方提到游戏的市场的后续更新前，他们的计划是明年再说，目前有一些改动方案和方向，但是开发的计划安排在明年。VR 这个事儿上次直播时候提到过，现在 VR 已经在内部的开发级别已经提升到平台，但是这个提升之后，现在的这个部 门刚刚组建，所以相关工作还在缓慢进展。总之，可以期待下日后 VR 模式会有更多的优化以及更多新功能。官方提到一个 DLSS 和 FSR 会对 VR 有很大的优化，但这属于废话。然后这次请来了一个嘉宾，名为 Hans Hartmann， 他的自我介绍是一辈子程序员，他为模拟飞行，为很多代模拟飞行都做过很多的第三方的插件飞机。然后这代模拟飞行，他做的最出名的那一架是双水塔，是他做的。他来介绍他正在做的飞机 ATR， 然后说到这一代他正在做的 ATR 会有3个型号，ATR 42-600、72-600以及72-600货机，一共3个型号的飞机。这3个型号会包含完整的客舱模型。首先是这架飞机，这个飞机会作为官方飞机来售卖，然后这也是官方的飞机里第一个带 EFB 的。然后同时他不是自己在做，他还有一个叫 Alexander Mazer 的人也在跟他同步在做。Mazer 同志是现在游戏里的 PC6 是他做的，可以说这2个是强强联手在做 ATR。然后 ATR 的航电是他根据 ATR 给的文档来开发，然后Hans Hartmann 提到他和 ATR 的之间的联络非常紧密，所以可以期待一下这个飞机的质量。然后是没有说上线时间，因为他们感觉就是微软方面想保证是质量越高越好，所以先不给时间。以及官方承诺过会有 Xbox 版，但是会在因为这个飞机用到了 WebAssembly 技术，所以得等 Xbox 那个修正解决再说。但是一般来讲，我觉得时间上应该不会差太远。然后有一个点就是会用到，就是你看最近几次更新里的那些模拟系统，这个飞机会直接用到，因为这架飞机也是这个螺旋桨的飞机，所以全会用到。然后官方提到6月份会很有趣，因为6月份的更新，6月份有2个更新，我们现在都不知道，官方还在藏着。官方只是说6月份会很有趣。对 Xbox 问题很多，所以正好现在也正好要说到这个问题，就是玩 Xbox 的版的玩家现在肯定是在抓狂，因为这次的世界更新把整个游戏改坏了，估计很多玩家都遇到了。这次官方又郑重地解释了一下这个问题，然后因为这个问题，官方扯出了一些可以说是反省吧。通过反省，然后这次正式公布了整个游戏的未来的更新的频率和计划会修改。其中一个最大的一个修改是未来的后续的系统更新，也就是 Sim Update 会间隔更久。现在不是大约每1-2个月一次 Sim Update 吗？可以说今年有好几次，即便有公测期，然后 Sim Update 也会引出大问题来。所以微软直接决定以后的 Sim Update 的测试期肯定会比1个月长。那么既然测试期会比1个月长，那么两次 Sim Update 之间的时间肯定也会拉长。这个是微软已经公布了。具体到这个上面就会扯到一个问题是，下次的系统更新 Sim Update 10不是预计7月份会更新吗？现在公布这个更新的测试版很快就会来，我估计6月中旬应该差不多，也就是大概再过2-3周，应该就会能玩到下个系统更新的测试版了。然后剩下这些都是一些还算挺有意思，一个是主菜单时候帧率过高的这个事。上次直播的时候，阿斯布那边也解释过，但给人感觉是阿斯布不想解决的感觉就是你没必要在主菜单待这么久，没必要解决。但后来应该是估计是论坛上讨论人也多了，感觉那种炸了的感觉。我的看法也是，难道你们阿斯布内部自己不用游戏那市场吗？下个东西不得挂很久，对吧？然后阿斯布这次终于认了，然后说是会在游戏里加一个选项，说是这个选项叫低能耗模式，会在游戏里能直接作为开关，是能限制 CPU 和 GPU 占用。然后提到一个更多的跑道刷新点，比如现在游戏你想点到跑道上刷新，那你就直接刷新到跑道上。这个事儿是如果你比较会飞的话，其实你觉得挺扯淡的，就是不应该刷这儿啊，你应该刷在跑道的那个等待线后面嘛。官方说是加这个刷新选项很容易，但是默认选项会怎么设呢？这都是事儿，所以还在讨论。他们提到说是为了新手考虑，肯定默认值还是得刷新在跑道上，但具体该怎么做还在征求意见。如何应对盗版？这个官方市场里是有加密的，然后很多第三方问微软说能不能给我们这个加密系统给我们，然后微软发现不好操作，所以就没什么下文了。在水上机在水面时候的操纵是那个目前的版本基本是 FSX 时代留下来的，然后下次系统更新会开始调整。 然后 Xbox 版还有一个问题是长途飞行黑屏，微软那边说是我们应该找到了原因再修正。然后说到 Xbox 还有一点是因为最近 A320 来了个 Phoenix， 以及之前还有 Fly-by-wire 的 A3NX， 都是我们 PC 版玩家能直接玩到的这个高端的飞机插件，但是 Xbox 那边不可能有。这个不可能有，真是不可能有。比如说那个Phoenix 是用的外挂程序 ，Xbox 上肯定有不了。然后玩家就问这个默认的 A320 是不是要优化一下，就是给我们 Xbox 玩家也玩一玩高端的玩意儿。这里微软就提到这是要不要优化到什么程度的需要讨论，因为你要真是说微软的意思是我们并不是说没有能力做到那个像 Phoenix 那个级别，并不是没有能力，而是人力成本和时间成本怎么安排的问题。这个微软也说是想公开征集讨论，如果懂英文的玩家也可以多去官方论坛逛一逛，去提一些意见。剩下就是一些剩下还有一个是 SU10 的到底有什么改动的问题。典藏语音并不是加钱的事儿。当然你说钱也是确实的原因，因为这个人力成本在这个层面上，人力成本就是他的工资嘛，对吧？花了这个人的工资，他做什么事儿的问题，对吧？Jack Harbaugh 不是说 Xbox 没法开放第三方，你看现在 Xbox 尤其是市场里有啥，基本和 PC 版是同步的，除了用到 WebAssembly 的那些东西，但那些东西微软正在修嘛，所以修好之后是能上的。但是像 Phoenix 的那个A320是 Xbox 肯定用不了，因为那个用到了外部程序 ，Xbox 的那种系统外部程序是你不可能开的，有这么个问题。这次直播有重要的说明是，基本上把 SU10 的改动全给写出来了，全给列出来了。一个是最开始提到中文目前还是计划会在这个更新上会有，然后就一个一个说了。首先是触地时这次相机会抖动了，然后 DLSS 他们说正在测试，目标 SU10 应该会有多显示器再有PC 版的 DX12 Xbox 版的 WebAssembly 云层有新的逻辑，但是这个应该指的是之前很久几个月前提到了这个会整个大气模拟会新做一个版本，应该提的是那个。然后地面操控会优化，Push Trip 会优化，这个现在还在飞 Push Trip 的玩家应该挺烦人的，一大堆问题。然后现在用 Xbox 玩的玩家应该发现，现在游戏的主菜单其实对手柄很不友好，他们提到会优化。然后这个屏幕讲述人是针对这个视力有问题的玩家会加一个辅助功能，然后玩家名牌会优化，但怎么优化也不知道。然后 NXI 可能会毕业时装掉游戏底，然后玩家过近时，其他玩家的飞机会消失，这个会作为一个选项，你可以直接开关。然后像刚才说的，测试版会很快到来。然后下面还有一个是因为刚才提到会有新的大气模拟，然后这个模拟会把阵风带回来。现在实时天气里的阵风是不存在的，在下次系统更新里阵风会回来。其他的还有一个比较重要的是长途飞行帧率下降的问题，目前只能说是微软方面找到了嫌疑人，说是 VFR 地图可能会引发这个问题，但是还在针对性测试性的修正。剩下这个上升气流是更多的是 SU10 的时候的那个新的大气模拟会带来的一个优化，就是这个热源气流更多是给滑翔机用的。你们可以注意一下，滑翔机一个没有动力的东西，它怎么就能往上飞？很多的时候是利用温度差造成的一个上升气流。你要会找的话，你能找到，然后你可以借这个气流，气流会不会直接把你顶上来？SU10 的时候正好因为优化了大气模拟，所以这个系统可以模拟出来。然后这个现在飞多人模式，尤其是如果没有买过 F35 的，现在应该发现了，就是如果别的玩家有 F35， 你会发现是一架 A330， 就是这个问题。但是目前官方说还没有修正方向，能说是如果懂英文的玩家也可以多去提意见。这是刚才提到地面操作优化的问题，以及最后是这次世界更新不是本来会带一架 SM55 的那架老式水上机吗？但是没卖，怎么回事呢？因为他们忘了和 Leonardo 签协议了。然后官方说这个签协议也快，聊得挺顺，但是真忘了，这么说。这次直播就这么多事情，你要说真有营养的东西 ，ATR 的那个公布是有营养的，然后 SU10 的这些改动其实之前都说过，只不过相当于这次又确认了一下。这次最大的一个，除了刚才 ATR 的那个公布之外，最大的一个公布是这个事情。以后游戏更新的频率会下降，并不是说官方做东西慢或者做东西少，而是 他们会把更多的时间放在修正 bug 上，以及公测期间也会拉长，这个我觉得是好事。你可以这么说，现在游戏本身它还能优化的地方还有多少？这也是问题，对吧？我感觉它该做也都差不多了。当然能开发新东西更好，但是现在可能更需要的还是稳定性，所以我觉得这是好事。当然，玩家大家也可以多多讨论一下。行，官方直播开始了。
Hello, hi everyone, welcome to the Danger Zone, or as we call it, our monthly dev Q&A. We are so happy to be here. I know I had to start out with something cheesy. My name is Jane. I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Great to see you. Below us here we have our three, they're not guests, they're here every time, so our three devs for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Of course, first, Jorg Newman.
Hi, good to see you all.
Glad you could join us. And in the middle, we have Sebastian Block.
Hi, Sebastian.
可以。
Head of the show. Good to see you all.
Thanks, Seb. And we have Marcel Star as well.
我这个直播就是给你准备的，我右边会把我所有听过的记录下来。
Thank you, and just want to say a quick shout out. Thank you, Flying Fabio, for that raid. Welcome in, everyone. We're just getting started here. We have a lot to go over. Just a few housekeeping notes. We're going to have two different Q&A sessions today. We're going to start out with some news and announcements first, and then head off to that first Q&A.
今天我不会同声传译，因为之前好几次发现，如果同声传译的话，一是我和官方的声音会重叠，二是那个。
All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off here.
我说话我也听不见他们说话，所以我这次就采用我文字记录。
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted that. So last time we met, I think it was April 26th. And as I was thinking about today's meeting, I was just looking back what has happened.
AI 字幕啊
Man, what a month it's been.
当然这个技术微软是有的，只不过他们没开出来。
I think it's quite possibly one of the most exciting months, really, for lovers of complex aircraft. I don't know, maybe ever. So let's look back just a little bit. So on April 29th, Just Flight, it started with that, like 2 days after our Q&A. Just Flight released the BAE 146 Professional.
对，记住打中文。刚才 Danger Zone 对打中文没意义。
Leonardo released Fly the Mad Dog X.
Milvis.
A few days later, Milvis released the excellent Cessna 310R, which you guys probably don't know this, but we had that in development, and it's the Milvis one is so good that we stopped our development. So that plane is covered. Awesome job, Milvis. Then 4 or 5 days later, PMDG launched the 737.
这个月太猛了，我只能这么说。
About all the upcoming cool stuff that is coming from them.
最后以壮志凌云收尾。
Then on the 19th, Phoenix Simulations launched its A320, and when I read the forums and what I hear from the team, is maybe one of the best releases of all time. And then a day later, Lefteris, that made me very happy. Lefteris announced that Flight Sim Labs is working on lots of things for our sim, including all new A330, which is really exciting. So in the past, this might have been a great lineup for like an entire year.
那个这月底还有 Honda Jet 是这月底会发售。
Goodness just keeps coming. A2A, Scott was just talking about how that plane is coming together.
那就看呗，反正现在有飞利在这摆着。
Flight FX with the Honda Jet, flying and the Cirrus, Flying Iron, India Fox Echo. On what third parties are working on is really cool, and it's coming out in the next few months. We think we're going to be seeing another 80 to 100 planes just this year, which is really fundamentally awesome. And it's not just the numbers, really. It's the quality that is the key here. And I think the quality is really impressive. And in my view, anyways, and I hope you guys agree, we can argue over it, I think that shows that it really should end the conversation. Is this a platform for real simmers? I mean, just go and play those modules, and they're freaking amazing. So great job, third parties. So thank you for all that. And I think it's all getting better and better and better. And then maybe I just one more thought. So we've been maybe to some of the developers out there. So we have been making updates as we promised every month since launch. So we have 9 sim updates, 9 world updates, an Xbox version, a Game of the Year version, an xCloud version, all this stuff. So 21 updates, 21 months, and it's been super duper busy. And in gaming, you sometimes call this game as a service, and we definitely are one of the most active ones. But I was reflecting upon some of the feedback that some of the third parties are giving us, which is sometimes really cranky. And I just wanted to say, we are game as a service, which is totally different what FSX was, because FSX was mostly a static platform. And in many ways, y'all are also part of the game as a service. So it's super important that you, when we put a beta out for a sim update, that you test against it. We now have over 2,000 add-ons, 2,152 last time I counted or something. And we are trying to test some of them, but you can't test all of them. It's impossible. So I think this is a reminder, please spend the time when a sim update beta comes out, play your module, make sure that we hear if there's anything wrong so we can work on it together. And just the tone, right? Let's keep the tone friendly. This is a hobby. I think we all want to have a good time. I think Asobo is doing an amazing job. The team has been hammering it for the last 21 months. And I think just take a little step back on the human side, and when you say something cranky, what it means on the other side. So that's all I'm really trying to say. Thank you for listening, and hopefully it was not too serious. So that's that. And but today, guys, what are we doing today? Oh yeah. Oh. Glasses on. We're entering the danger zone. So we have a trailer. It just launched, and we thought we can watch it here for just a quick minute.
来，预告片出来了，还没看，正好看一块看一下。刚才那几个场景都是游戏里挑战的，你是可以飞出来的。暗星里还有个驾驶员是吗？我操！好吧，电影里是阿汤哥会在里面。
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed that trailer.
假
People
装
are
自己有
loving
这个
your
墨镜
glasses,
戴着。
man. Great aviators. And on that note, though, because we have announced or released Top Gun today, we do have a special guest. Damian, if you'd like to come on, awesome.
嘉宾是谁？这个是，这位是。
Welcome. Would you mind introducing
Hi,
yourself
everyone.
first? Hello.
So I'm Damien. I'm a design director at Asobo Studio, and so I'm working on MFS since we started here.
恭喜。
Fantastic. And will you tell us a little bit about your work on Top Gun and take us through some of the activities we can do in the new DLC?
Yeah, with
阿索
pleasure.
波的人，这个
So,
这个
yeah,
DLC 是他主导
it's
做
been,
的，
sometimes since we've been asked to
应该就是把他拉过来跟介绍 DLC 是啥。但是我觉得这段没什么意义了，因为 DLC 已经出来了，刚才都玩到了。
A really good news for us, and so as you may know, even if so yesterday we had the chance to watch the movie at the theater, but at the beginning, obviously, that was not the case. We had no view on the script at all, and so we had to do our homeworks. So we had the chance to have a former jet pilot in the team. So that was the first step to get some insights on what are the expectation for that type of experience. And step after step, we've been able to gather some information from the Paramount a bit, from what they were allowed to tell us, to access some engineers that were working on on the aircraft that are featured in the movie, and step by step, we've been able to define the content and the experiences we wanted to expose in the Maverick pack. And so we can
听到他说我那都是听错了。现在这段我直接不结尾不翻译了，因为正讲的是这个 DLC 的内容。然后现在 DLC 已经公开了，刚才大家也看到我玩到了，所以这段我就直接不翻译了，因为游戏内容现在已经可以直接玩到了，就是我这个意思。
MFS, and so we are coming with a series of 5 low altitude challenge, and so basically we'll ask you to fly low as fast as possible.
但内容我还是记一下，因为已经公开了。
Mountain regions. So we can take a look at a bit the next screenshots. There's the 5 location we've selected were based same thing on the information we've got from a real life pilot. So they are based on location where real life pilots are used to make those kind of exercise, and so they are all come with
他法国人
different challenges. So some are
正好现在聊也无所谓，突然正在说的是游戏内容。电商运营 PMDG 抱怨还是那个古老的抱怨阿索沃一直改来改去，他们什么都做不了，一直抱怨是这个。然后微软的回应是我们这个是游戏级服务，每天都得改。 你这个抱怨没有价值，微软回应是这个，所以微软没有明说，所以我是猜微软这话是对 PMDG 说的，因为现在对这个抱怨声音最大的就是 PMDG。
The runs that are low to the ground and fast at the same time。
然后现在画面上这个是低空高速飞行挑战，这个刚才我玩了一下，然后。 简单来说就是，游戏会给你扔到一个训练场地，游戏不会告诉你飞行线路，你自己摸索，然后游戏会根据你飞得多低以及飞得多快来给你评分，是这么个模式。
Fun fact here, so something to validate our work on those low altitude flights. We invited a French pilot to the studio to get feedback.
其实仔细想一下，整个这代模拟飞行的整个这套 Web Assembly 机制就是为了 PMDG 开发的。你这么想的话，
basically get scores that we barely were able to do at the studio. So that was a good point.
It was super impressive. Super impressive.
Yeah, impressive to see how fluid it was with the aircraft, what he was able to perform on the first run, and so that's not something that
现在画面上这个是 F18的这个飞行训练，我还没试过。好，这个飞行训练也是会给你打分的，你训练成果怎么样，会给你做评价。
That of aircraft are going to be able to express themselves in those challenges as well. And then we've set up 3 training flights, we call them, for the people that are not yet
泡面大哥，现在名字改了，叫 PMD G 是 G 的这个 G。
And especially the ridge crossing training is a well-known technique to cross mountains while being able to stay close to the ground.
这基本还没见过。
It's also a way to
这个告诉你如何低空切山是
吧？ Something set up for you so that you can practice that and try to.
我才发现这个界面上的这个聊天框不对。
That's about it here for relative challenges. So yeah, that's the setup we've. We decided to go for the training because even in real life we learned that pilots are used to train into the clouds because training close to the ground is the danger zone basically, and so they are used to use clouds as a reference point.
你刚才飞那段就发现有一段切山的嘛，但是我真不会这么切。
To try in the ridge crossing exercise. Another novelty with the content pack is the carrier. that we are bringing.
现在正在讲的是这个航母挑战。
that is happening on the carrier deck.
这个我就直接，因为刚才我飞了好几次，这我直接我介绍一下吧。这个是对，我来介绍这个航母挑战是这艘航母是会动的。在现在游戏里玩过航母插件的朋友应该都知道，现在那些插件都是不动的，就是地景在那触着。这艘航母是会动的，但是是只在一个特定场景里，没有在世界体现。然后那个航母除了会动之外，然后Puppy 以及航母尾部的那个指引灯都是存在的，所以你如果你是得利用它，然后游戏也会教你怎么利用。你要想拿高分的话，必须得利用，这么个机制。最后这个挑战是暗星 Dark Star 这个飞机是这次电影里虚构的一架飞机，有10马赫，然后用这架飞机横跨美国。
In the flight we've set up.
还Airbox 这 PMD 这过分了。
The last flight we set up is a stratospheric flight. So same thing with the Maverick content. We are coming with a new aircraft, the Dark Star, which is allowing to take yourself up to the stratosphere. And so what we can see
刚刚提到这个 Dark Star 这个飞机是能飞到平流层的，也就是能飞到地球轨道上去。
Implemented in the flight, something based on information we've got from engineers, and so that's a procedure that is gonna allow you to take that.
你听到地球轨道，你不要想这不是太假了，因为这架飞机本来就是假的，虚构的，玩就行了。
A new way to see the world we do have from above, new point of view that we are not
10马赫能飞到轨道，那可能是真的嘛，对吧？洲际导弹的。
But for that, I'll let all the people.
然后刚才很多朋友试飞已经发现了，就是你在宇宙的时候，在这个穿透大气层的时候，飞机会烧红了，这个效果它给做出来了。
Wonderful point of view up there that you're going to be able to have during the flight. Just something fun fact. So the flight we've set up is basically starting from the west coast and ending in Cape Canaveral on the east coast. And so all of that,
我再复述一下，就是现在我没有记住他说的话，是因为这些内容现在已经公开下载了，你是可以玩到的，所以我觉得没必要再复述他的话。我是这个意思。
That is jaw-dropping to be able to cross basically the entire United States in such a short time frame. And that's about it for the content pack that is now available for everyone on Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. Great. So I think we should. So first off, thank you, Damien. I think it's super fun. We've been playing a ton. We've had a ton of help too. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know this. We had the Dark Star is obviously a fictional plane, but we had access to actual aircraft engineers at the manufacturer that did a plane that looks very similar.
这是一个他们记录的问题，但他们还没有修好。
And Spock was, I mean, he helped us a ton figuring out what the instruments should be and to give it a real level of authenticity. And then, Damian, maybe you can speak to the pilots we had testing this and what their actual real life is and those things.
Yeah, so
这是他们记录，但是他们还没有修。这只能说这么说。
So basically, we had a French former pilot that.
然后刚才微软的负责人说，这架飞机别说什么拟真，因为这是反正虚构的。微软负责人自己都这么说的。
Different aircraft. And so
我们只能保证这个看着爽，只是保证这个就行了。
On a lot of different domains.
这飞机就是整活的。
He was experiencing when doing this landing, what he was able to, what was the look and feel. We spent time also to make sure that the choreography of the instrumentation and of the aircraft
有一架1:1的模型
were properly tuned. So to make sure, for example, the flows, we saw that he was able to get the same reference point that he had in real life in order to land. And so we literally spent a few hours tuning this element with him in control until basically he was saying, okay, good, I was
应该还是顾着他的面子，还没有人喷波音而已。
and that was doing the right thing.
可能也是大家也怕你，可能你做的肯定好，就压根不碰。但你这么一搞，估计大家也发现哦，你原来是这个意思。
all the people that helped us via their expertise in making that content as real as it gets, basically.
Obex和 Aerosoft 可能比较大吧。
On the chat that somebody's saying that it won't be like US pilots.
快进不了，这直播呀。
So it was like
快进。
relationship we had with
所以现在在闲聊嘛。
And also actually he also flight with Canadian Air Forces.
Yeah.
所以我再重复一下，是这段是因为我没有做记录，是因为这些内容现在游戏里已经出现了，大家想了解的话，可以直接去玩就可以。
是
这个意思。
Direct relationship and quick iteration processes, having him next to us. But on top of that, it has been validated by.
The U.S. Navy helped too. At the very beginning.
其实我觉得更可以期待一下 FSR 2.0。FSR 2.0目前来看效果不错。
About people that share some moment at the Top Gun School as well. It was really
已经同步启动了，但是什么时候做出来那他也没个谱，只能是说现在是同步启动。
What the people were doing there
很有可能先出，因为 DLS 他们早就开始做。
Same thing that the content we were providing was something good, as we have a few videos ongoing on the training flight. We wanted also to
Dragonfly Y
so all of that was
理论可以，但好像现在没有游戏这么干的。
new territory for
理论可以，因为一个软件一个 AI 理论是可以连着用。
And again, a great discovery to spend time with all those people and to learn about that aspect of aviation.
但是现在一般两个都支持游戏是一个互斥选项，你开了一个就不能开另外一个。
Yeah, so obviously that's something we want as well.
W8 这198我应该不是，因为它是作为游戏官方，它来介绍这个东西很正常啊，毕竟是刚出的，对吧
？With all the rest of the feature and content, but that's definitely something we'll continue to think about, so that at some point.
And is it moving?
Is it moving?
Yeah, is it moving? Obviously, that's a requirement to land on a carrier. Basically,
这讲的是航母是在动。
Stand still. Basically, you don't have any
把这个得提，我会说明一下。
Facing wind to land properly. So same thing. That's the kind of information we've been able to get. That an appropriate wind on the deck is around 28 knots. For example, so all of those details we try to make sure we have them properly in game. And as soon as something was not sounding good anyway, that's something we faced directly in the experience, like the landing was too hard or the reference were
有，现在已经有了呀。
So that's definitely not something we can shit about.
对，所以我刚才想说的是，它如果接口是开放的，那第三方是可以做出来的。
All able to enjoy what is presented there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Damien. We really appreciate you talking about the new DLC. And chat, we do have a thread open in our forums for feedback on it if you'd like to post there. Definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts. So thank you so much, Damien.
Thank you, everyone.
这段结束了，刚才谁说讲1小时，结束了。
Great. Bye. All right. Awesome. Well, we will now move on to our follow-up from last of Q&A section here. There's a few items of clarification and updates for you. The first one, I'm going to kick it off to Jorg. We're going to talk a little bit about performance on the Xbox specifically.
这我就不说话了，我直接记录了。
Oh, that landed with me. Interesting.
Or anyone else.
Well, I mean, obviously there was something went wrong, and we've had a lot of conversations internally about why and how. And I mean, I guess, why don't you jump in real quick and say what exactly happened, and then we can talk a little bit about the consequences of what happened.
For performance stability?
Yeah.
Seb, you're muted.
Sorry, the stability issue on the Xbox update.
On the Xbox, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can. What happened is that the update system on the Xbox has been changed to perform background updates. When people were doing specific things in the menu, while there was basically while the same data was getting updated, it could occasionally crash. And when it occasionally crashed, if there was another bad luck, it could crash while it was writing some files into the cache on the console, and this could corrupt the crash. So I think this affected a percentage of users. I think relatively quickly we fixed the content on the servers, which was causing the updates, which was causing the crash, which was causing the corruption. So it affected a few users for a few hours, and then it was fixed. But those users, once the cache is basically corrupted, it was very hard to get them out of the corrupt state. So we had to update the exe and 2 times, and then I think because it's not as simple, you can't like on some devices like a phone, when you have a corrupt cache or whatever, you just re-init it and that's it. On the console, it's not that easy because you have bigger downloads and it takes longer. So the issue was fixed, and we shouldn't see it again, hopefully.
Yeah, but let's talk about why we actually did all this. And so we are pretty clear. It's kind of the stuff I said earlier. We're pretty clear that we need to spend a good amount of time flighting sim updates. And in order to, and so in sim update 9, for example, we locked the code a month early, fixed bugs, and then we flighted it for a month. During that month, and we had, I don't know, tens of thousands of people playing. From those people, we never saw this bug. And the bug came in because we are trying to make world updates clientless. So we don't have to update the client, which enables us to lengthen the sim update flighting. That's the actual goal. So we were quite surprised that the background download caused problems. We were very confident because the feedback from the SU9 flight was really good. Then we put it out on Xbox and it really didn't work. And then so within 4 hours stopped the bleed, and then we fixed the bug since then. But that is all just upon reflection. It's just because we're going a little bit too frantic. The update a month, and the team had said that to me for a while, an update a month basically gives us not enough time to really test it. So we try to elongate the time, but even that might not be enough. So we are most likely going to slow down the frequency of sim updates quite a bit. It might also affect the world updates, and with that we're going to get increased stability and more time. And then it's kind of what I said before. Flighting is key. There's no way. I mean, it's kind of like Windows. They don't test every app that exists on Windows. We can't test every add-on there is. It's impossible. There's thousands already. So we just need more time. And so you will see a slight slowdown on our frequency and an elongation of the flights. And then please participate in the flights, and we'll make sure that everything is stable. Hope that makes sense. By the way, apologies that this happened. We feel terrible. I hope you know this. When our sim crashes, we feel very responsible that it's stable. It was completely unforeseen. Otherwise, we clearly would have not shipped it, right? So but more time. Just give us a little bit more time. Hopefully, that makes sense.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Jorg, Marcel, and Seb on that question. Moving on to our next clarification question. In the last Q&A, we brought up the high FPS count and GPU load on the sim. Talked about using VSync to help mitigate it. Some users were already using VSync, but it kind of maxes out the GPU anyway. So at the core, just to clarify, it was more of an environmental and electricity price issue. So at the moment, if you go to the content manager, the GPU usage does drop dramatically. So we were wondering, is there a way to apply this to the menu, or another option to be available to reduce the FPS just in the menus?
Yes, so what we've done is we've added an experimental option, which is going to be in the options menu in the dev mode. and which is going to be called low power mode, I think. When you enable this, your frame rate will drop quite a bit. So we tested it on a few PCs. GPU and CPU usage is divided by 4. So my CPU was 50%. It goes down to 10 or 12%. My GPU went down from 20% to 5%. And my processor, my CPU frequency was at 4.5 gigahertz. It went down to 3, sometimes 2 something. So it really reduces the load a lot. Frame rate goes down though. So I was like at 50 or something, and it goes down to 15 to 20. But it's really what it's meant to be, right? A low performance, low economy, like low power mode. It's great if you idle. It's not gonna give you a great experience as in terms of frame rate, etc. But I think the requirement was really, hey, I just want the power to drop for whatever. I don't need extremely high frame rate. This is gonna give you 15 to 20 FPS, but the power consumption is gonna go down a lot. It's not in the sim menu, it's a dev mode menu, because basically anybody can enable it still, but it's experimental. We'll collect feedback if you like it or not, and make it better if it needs tweaks, and then publish it in the next sim update, which comes after. So this is going to be available in sim update 10. And based on feedback, then make it a core option in sim update 11.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, Seb. On to our next clarification question on putting runway spawn points at the hold short lines instead of directly on the runway. I know last time we talked about this, Martial.
Yes.
So is this, you mentioned you don't know if we will take the waiting point as a default spawning point, because for newcomers it might be hard to understand that you are not starting the flight in the alignment of the track, so it's something we're talking about. Is there anything you can clarify here about the original question as it's currently planned?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because everybody knows Damien now. So with Damien, we followed the thread on the forum. And there's plenty of good ideas there, and basically putting by default a user in the waiting points, we could prevent those people not to be spawned when you're about to land, which is a good thing. But it's not sufficient, because we are talking about newcomers, we're talking about beginners, and those beginners, they don't know that they've got to follow some procedures and follow some rules, not to go to the track before people are landed. So it won't solve all the solutions. So we are thinking about like a solution in 2 steps. The first one would be to allow some user to be spawned on the waiting point if they want to. But the other solution we would like to bring is another systems to hide people that are on the track when you're about to land.
Yeah.
We're in final, for instance. So it should solve all the situation here. So hey guys, if you've got some other ideas, please note that in the forum on the thread, so we can take the best decision here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martial. And our last follow-up question, in the last Q&A, there was a question about seaplane water handling improvements. We asked for more details. As more and more seaplanes come out, will we see improvements in this area? And there was a very long, great list provided. I know, Seb, you took a look at that. Wonder if you have an update on that.
Yeah, so it's effectively a long list. So we'll look at it, add it to the backlog. Some of the stuff, so we actually did a iteration pass on water behavior. I think it was end of last summer. So the water plane behavior at MSFS launch was pretty much exactly the FSX water plane behavior. And we did one improvement step last summer. So yeah, we've seen the list of requests. We look at it, and as it's great because it's been broken down into different pieces. We will prioritize and integrate that into updates, future updates. So probably not sim update 10, because that's a bit too short. But starting with 11.
Perfect. Thank you, Seb. I'm seeing some questions in chat and clarifying the low FPS menu. Is that experimental dev option that we plan on coming out with, will that just affect the menus or everything?
You can turn it on and off whenever you want. In the menu, in the sim, it's an option. It's at the top. You turn it on, you turn it off, and whenever you do that, it just reduces the workload on the system a lot. I mean, really a lot. But you lose, obviously. I mean, if we could do that without losing frame rate or quality, we would do it anyway. But you can turn it on and off very quickly, very easily. So if you only want it in the menu, you can turn it on, and then once you launch the sim, you can turn it off. Maybe later, once it becomes an option, we can assign it to a key or something, so that you can easily turn it on and off or stuff like that. I mean, we're welcome to your feedback. Currently, this is just to see if it actually, I mean, we've tested it on a few PCs. Economy is about 40% load on the system, or divided by 4. We have not had a system where we were at 100% CPU or something, and so I don't know what it says on these systems. But yeah, we can make it more convenient. But yeah, there's no magic way to reduce energy consumption without reducing either frame rate or quality. Quality you can already do in the menus, right? You can reduce the graphics quality, and if your graphics quality goes below, your GPU load will go below the CPU load, and it's going. I mean, your GPU is not going to consume as much.
So
but this really slows down. Yeah.
People are asking why not simply trigger the low FPS mode in the menu. So we've got this option right now. It's going to be tested by you guys, and
you can turn it on off. Oh, you want it automatic? I mean,
yes.
And some people are going to want it in the cockpit, and some people that's a bit maybe too much. If it's just a key press, you can turn it on and off very easily. So that's
so we'll
see what the feedback is.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But at least that's the option, and you can discover if it's the right way of doing that.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, that brings us to our Q&A session.
新消息是壮志凌云 DLC 已经出来，但是因为已经出来了，所以不是这个 Q 的新消息了。
The forum here we will answer as well.
其他的
we'll go ahead and start with
刚才
the
是一个
first one.
QA 环节，然后新消息
This
还没
one
公
says
布。
now that Marketplace 2.0 has been released for some time,
现在
is
是
the
新消息。
current interface planned to remain static for the
感谢
foreseeable
Mac 饭
future,
团的投
or
入
are other updates planned to
现在这个是
introduce
新消
new
息。
features such as user comments, a top feature section, methods of contacting the developer, invoices indicating the product purchased, or a simpler refunds process?
Well, there's a lot. So Marketplace 2.0, the feedback we've had is actually really positive. And I think people we did a UR test. We actually did a user test. So I think we hear that the UI is better. And then these other things that were just mentioned, I wouldn't expect them, frankly, this year. That team is working on some other infrastructure issues right now. But I think we are aware of all the things that were just mentioned. And I would say most of them are somewhere targeted in 2023. Some of them are sort of a slippery slope, frankly, with long comments. We're not sure that we want to do this, honestly. We think the rating system actually works pretty well. But in general, think about a Marketplace 3.0 somewhere next year, maybe late next year even.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Interesting question here. I don't know if right place to answer, but what is MS doing to help combat piracy for developers?
Okay, who's taking that one? Me? I mean, we have our own.
Oh, I can talk about that. You want?
Go ahead.
So we've got partners that helps us to have several layers of security for this. So for every planes, every content that's delivered by our store, there is a kind of DRM. So maybe sometimes people get bothered by that, but at least it helps the people that are creating planes to be protected from wild copies. So it is included by default when the asset is sold in our store. Why that? It's because it's directly linked to the system the store is working, and it's very hard for us to the system that could be used outside of the store. So it's the choice we've been taken.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the problem, right? So we've talked, plenty of folks that run other stores have asked us if we could extend our copy protection into their stores, and it doesn't really work. So, you know, some of them obviously roll their own, you know, they're more or less successful. You know, sometimes I look at some of the freeware share sites and stuff shows up ridiculously quickly after it was launched. So it makes me a little bit sad because the developer then, you know, doesn't make any money, right? They poured their heart into these things. Ours is safe, and we have a team that is constantly updating that. For other stores, we don't think we have a solution for them, unfortunately.
Okay. Question from chat. Do we have an update on the issue for Xbox users where the screens, avionics screens, go black during long-haul flights?
So we're still working on that. It's very annoying, and I'm very sorry for that.
Well, we think we have a lead, right?
And sync to memory, and so yeah.
Awesome.
No, I can't. Yeah. I can't tell more.
Thank you, Martial. Question number 2.
I would love to get you another answer.
I understand. Let's see. Question number 2 here.
I've seen a question interesting.
Sure.
Also for Xbox users about the A320 if it was going to get improvements because Xbox users don't have alternative A320s. And yes, and this is actually one of your questions, like the 3 on your slide, right? We keep fixing small quality of life or bug issues all the time. There has been a few fixes on the A320 on sim update 10, and there is with pretty much every sim update there is fixes on different planes, and yeah, sim update 10 has a few for the A320, and based on feedback we get, if there's issues we fix them. I think, for example, one is the autopilot nosedive when you are close to flare on final. That's something which has been fixed. There's been fixes on the ground effect, which was making it too floaty. I mean, many little bugs, I would say.
Yep.
I mean, I actually think that there's something to add. We just had a pretty long discussion about that exact topic, the A320, and how far should we push this, right? And I'm seeing in the chat, yeah, Phoenix just did a great one. Fly-by-wire, I think, has done a great job modding. They opted not to come to the Xbox store, which kind of bummed me out. Or I think they actually went out of our marketplace altogether for whatever reason. So that's a choice. Should we spend our time doing similar things that they did, or even exceed what they did, or should we move on? That's a good discussion. We at that point in time said there is a freeware version that is great, and if people really want that, they can get that, but it's just on PC. So this is the strategic choice we have to make, and I'm actually quite interested in getting feedback on this. So Jane, maybe we can put something in the forums to get some input.
Sure.
Because it's just, how do we spend our time? Do we go chase some of those things, or do we fix other things? It's just a matter of priority.
Yes, and regarding other planes, we're still working on putting WASM on Xbox. We're doing some progress here, and hopefully it will come soon. So it will help us to bring in more planes on Xbox.
Yep.
It's a long road.
Absolutely. All right, our next question, what is, from the forums, what is the future improvements for VR pilots?
So I think we talked about that a bit on the last Q&A. So we've decided to change the structures on the VR team. We had a VR team that were doing some VR when we started to work on VR. And why we did that choice, it was because we needed some people dedicated to this way of doing the sim, because it was started from scratch and there was a pretty huge amount of work to do. And now we are thinking that the best way of doing VR is to merge this team and the core team. So that's what has been done during the past months. So now VR is not like another way of using the sim. It's part of the experience. So if you walk into the offices here, you will see headsets everywhere. So basically, when we're doing a new functionalities or when we're doing some improvements, whatever the kind of improvements we're bringing, could be UI, performances, new things, VR will be tested once while we are doing the feature. So it has been now considered as a platform. So we are having PC, we are having Xbox, and now we have VR and xClouds. So every time we are doing something, it has to be tested and properly tested and developed using the VR mode. So hopefully this will help us to improve the quality of the VR experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Martial.
And we are still working on some improvements, and I think we'll get some good news with the DLSS and the FSR coming soon. I don't want to put dates there.
Awesome. All right, third question we have here from the forums. Could you spend more time on fixing very small but annoying bugs? An example here is a set of camera bugs has been frustrating, one of them being the drone camera's undesirable rotation of the Earth, very slight. So can we talk a little bit about how we approach small bugs?
There's actually been fixes of undesirable rotations on the camera with SimUpdate 9. So maybe there's different things, but we keep fixing small. That's what I said earlier. We have every SimUpdate brings hundreds of small fixes. Anything that's brought to our attention and filed, and it's, I mean, we're burning through these, and so maybe there's something else on the camera, or other issues. So we do that all the time. Yeah. It's just a report, and maybe, I don't know, maybe some of this doesn't get enough visibility, or is not is further down the road. But yeah, we keep doing that all the time.
Okay, thank you so much, Seb. Interesting question from chat. Will an in-game livery editor ever be coming for Xbox users?
Or any user.
Or any user, yes.
Not the Xbox question. We talk about it. Like, again, if you just reading the chat, some people say, well, just fix the stability issues and whatever perf problems people run into, and then there's new features like this, right? So it's all a balance. We always said this is a 10-year road, so we are at the beginning of that. So do I think of livery editor is cool? Definitely. Do we think this is the highest priority right this moment? Definitely not. So we'll do it at some point, but not right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jörg. All right, so we are done with Dev Q&A number 1. We'll do the second one here in a little bit, but I've been seeing this in chat a lot. We do have another guest we would love to introduce.
As promised. Oh yeah, here he is. Da, 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 da.
Hello.
All right, we have Hans Hartmann. Welcome, Hans.
Hello.
他是双水塔，是他做的。是他双水塔是他做的。
Intro on yourself.
Yes, I'm a third-party developer basically. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I'm actually very happy to be allowed to do this specific project with Microsoft and Asobo. So I've been a programmer all my life, didn't do much else, so that's pretty much all you need to know about me.
Fantastic. Well, I know everyone is definitely itching for an update on the ATR, so let's hear a little bit about that.
So, yes, the project started earlier this year, as you all might know. We are currently in the middle of everything, so it's not yet in any testing phase, and I certainly cannot talk about any kind of release date. So everything you see here is preliminary, and it might or might not change before the product is ready for release. So the first, let's start with what is in there. That would be 3 different models: the ATR 42-600, passenger version, the ATR 72-600 passenger version, and also the 72-600F freighter version. Can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
Jane? Okay, so let's start with the exterior model. Everything is built to state of the art. Everything is animated. Doors are animated. Even the little document flap near the captain's side window. We included the new LED lights. And, yeah, that's pretty much about the exterior model. The freighter and the passenger versions, of course, have different models for this. Yes. Next is the interior model. That's the same level of detail as the exterior model. We, for the first time in an official plane, let's say it like this, a walkable cabin is included. This goes for the freighter version as well as the normal passenger version. Everything that opens or closes is animated, is usable. Also sun visors, the usual armrests, and even the document door, which is all included. The aircraft has an electronic flight bag, which is not visible in this picture. And this might make hardware designers or people who try to connect hardware quite happy. Everything, all controls will be accessible through local VARs. So you're not limited to the actual events that are available in the controls options, in the control options. So, okay. Yes, can we go to the next one?
Yes.
Flight dynamics, the flight model, like so many other aircraft I have been involved in, has been made by Alexander Metzger once more. I cannot say much to this specific thing because I don't have and there's not really any data I can give you. It's the PW127M engine that's simulated, and the flight model, of course, based on the modern flight model, and this includes realistic ITT behavior, realistic fuel flow, and so on, all within a few % of real values. Okay, and then the last one.
Okay.
This is about the systems. So first, everything is up to latest ATR standards, which is called STD3. The checklist system is absolutely completely included, as you can see in the screenshot. This is an example from the takeoff checklist. What also is included are the latest changes or updates to the ATR models, namely the NAMS pressurization system, and the latest digital gauges for cabin temperature and I think landing elevation as well. The aircraft has a fully implemented Thales FMS 220 system, like the real one, 2 MCDUs in this case. ATR provided us with a ton of PDF documents, which really are really an extensive documentation, pretty much more than anyone could read during the development time, but it's very, very helpful. Of course, we will include what's already been announced, that will be a terrain awareness system and a weather radar. So, as I said, we are on a good way. The project is on schedule, but it's a little early to talk about release dates or something similar yet. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about it right now.
Yes, I'm seeing already a lot of questions in chat. I don't know which ones you can and can't answer at this point, but everyone seems really excited.
Oh, we should say, Hans, can you speak to how close the relationship is with ATR?
Very close. Actually, this is the second time I personally work with ATR, and we are in permanent direct contact with them.
Nice.
And we get information. We can ask questions directly, even if something is not clear from the FCOM or any other documentation. So that's pretty nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see a question of, is it going to be a high fidelity plane? I hope it's going.
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
There was another question that I think is worth talking about. Is this going to be on Xbox, Hans?
I would say yes. It depends a bit on the WebAssembly thing on Xbox. If that is solved, the ATR will be no problem. We're doing absolutely everything to SDK specifications, so Xbox users can get the ATR as well.
And I don't know if you can answer this one. Will it be making use of CFD soft body and new prop physics, etc.?
Yes, it will be. It will work based on the latest updates, flight dynamics wise.
Fantastic question. Who's making this? Asobo? Hans Hartmann.
And Asobo.
That's right. Asobo, Hans Hartmann, Alexander Metzger, and Benjamin Erd.
Awesome. Okay. So, thank you for that update. Of course, we can't share any details on any kind of release or cadence at the moment, but it's great to see the work that's been done so far in the ATR. Thank you so much, Hans, for joining us for that update. I appreciate it. Chat appreciates it. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bye.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to our Dev Q&A session 2 here. All right, it's got some really great questions. We'll start one from the forums, but chat, feel free to chime in on your questions as well. Number one question here is the team planning to add camera shake at touchdown, This effect is missing from the sim and would be very important. Zeb.
Yes, sim update 10 is going to have a camera shake at touchdown. And it was really a small change. So we already have a full camera physics with inertia and all sorts of physics actuation. It's just that the parameters were tuned very it was very soft and not visible at all. So we tuned it a little bit better so that so we didn't want to break the experience when you pull a lot of G's, which is also a vertical force. We also want to keep the cockpit usable or readable. So yeah, you have now I would say a much more noticeable shake if you do I would say a kiss landing, but if you do a hard landing, it's a much bigger shake of the camera. So that's going to be sim of the 10. It's being tested right now.
Very cool. And will this be like a default built-in option, or it will be a toggle type thing, or it'll just happen?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it was already there. It was just tuned so soft that nobody could notice it.
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe a 1 millimeter shake or something. Now it's 2 centimeters, which is, I would say, what your head would do if you impact, right? So
very cool. Question here is DLSS coming with Sim Update 10? You seemed unsure, just curious.
It's been tested. so far it's running well. So if it's the process we were talking about, because we don't want to rush, because sometimes we were pretty confident about some features and on different configurations or different use cases, it was not a good thing. So we are going to push that. It's going to be flighted. And if everybody is pleased, it's going to be pushed to everybody. But we don't want to rush that. It could be a disaster for some user. Hopefully it will not.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can, and as soon as it has been validated by the test plan we've got.
Okay. Thanks, Martial. I do see just this general question here. Can we get more info on Sim Update 10? And I would say we're planning on going into more detail on Sim Update 10 in our coming Q&As if we get a little bit closer to it.
Okay. Well, maybe I can give more details.
Sure.
So some of the features that have been asked are implemented, and we're doing some testing right now.
Yeah.
This is worth for the multi-screen, for instance. We talked about the LSS. We're working also hard on DirectX 12, so we can get the performances we are having on DirectX 11. For the moment, I think we are off about something like 20%. We're working on WASM. We're working on a new cloud logic that will bring more resolution next to the ground. We are doing some improvement on push trips. We're doing something important also for accessibility. So we are doing some modification on the UI on the main menu, so people can use the main menu with the D-pad, which is super important for an accessibility point of view. We are also improving the screen reader for that, for accessibility too. We have added some keys. Some people are asking to be able to remove just by pressing one key the ribbon or the name of the cities, all the information that we are displaying, and this has been done. The nameplates, the sticker with the names. We're working with working title for bringing some VFR map improvements and some improvement also on the NXI.
Awesome.
This is basically the kind of thing we want to bring.
Great, thank you, Martial.
So there's some questions. When does the flight start? Pretty soon.
Yep.
It's kind of what I said earlier. We might extend it. So we had a date in mind for Sim Update 10, and we might move it by a few weeks to allow for enough flighting. There's a bunch of really meaty features coming with it, and we need this to be thoroughly tested by everybody.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. And,
I'm pretty sure I've missed something. It's specifically what's in there.
Oh, the bush trips came up earlier, right? So bush trips, we heard.
Bush trips.
It was early.
I talked about that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of things. We are aware that they're unfortunately pretty broken. So a lot of maybe not 100% of all bugs were fixed, because of some of them are so fringy, but most of them are.
That is awesome to hear. Thank you, Georg. And speaking of Sim Update 10, question here. You said in the last Q&A you might be able to give more details about multi-monitor support. Will it be present in Sim Update 10 or a basic feature?
So at least it will be present in the flighting, because it's done for the rendering part. We're still having sometimes some issues with the interaction model when it's split on multiple screen, but it will be definitely in the flighting, and we are going to gather some feedbacks there, and if it's working well enough, if it can be shared with everybody, it will be pushed in Sim Update 10. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Martial. All right, a foreign question here. It says, wind gusts are missing from live weather at the moment. When will gusts be implemented? Yep.
Sim Update 10. So we're testing it right now. We're injecting the live weather gusts values from either the live weather data coming from Meteoblue, or if there is a meta clause which has gust data. So the issue is that I tested it today quite extensively. Today there was 3 or 4 airports which had gusts, like Dodge City Airport, Atlanta, that were in France. There was none. So there is not always gust data in METARs, maybe because they're too small. So when there's no data, we use the other live weather data source, which has gust information, and it's actually pretty close to what METARs are saying when there's a METAR. And if there's metadata, we're blending it in when you're, I would say, close to the airport, close to the ground seamlessly. And it works pretty well. So the only difference I would say, and that's important for the flighting, is that, well, it's going to add gusts to live weather. So that's so I remember a little bit the turbulence issue, which has been added also. So here, if there is gusts in the region in live weather, well, you're gonna have gusts, and sometimes gusts can be pretty. I Dodge City this morning had 11 knots or 12 knots wind, and gusts at close to 30 knots, and it's pretty hard to land when you have that much wind. So it's just we'll have to do a little bit of tests. I don't know if it's going to cause a problem or not, because when gusts are too strong in live weather, the only thing you can do is go to a preset. We don't have an option right now to turn them off, I think, in the weather menu. So maybe that's something we may have to do now that we have gusts. We'll see.
Cool. Thank you, Seb.
I missed something because I've seen the topic on the forum, on the chat. On Simulated 10, we're also getting an option that allows you to trigger on and off the fact that you want the plane next to you being hidden or not. So for those who want to do some close flights. And
yes, the ghosting.
Oh. Yes.
Okay.
This would be, yeah, there will be an option to turn that on or off.
That's awesome. Slightly related to that, I think, a question here is, could we re-explore the potential for private servers or perhaps bigger group sizes in the future? We have sensitive events that would benefit to partition away from those who try to ruin the fun for others. We had a really great event on Sunday and a few griefers on there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I've understood. I'm sorry.
It's the private sessions. I think it's currently limited to 8, right?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's something we need to look into.
Yes, on the network layer.
Yeah.
Want to do some improvements there. We're working on that.
Okay. Thank you. And another chat question here. The overwhelming majority of issues I see on the forums are about stuttering, performance segregation on long-haul flights, and low frame rates while on the ground. Can you acknowledge and respond to these issues and what the future is for these issues?
So I think we already responded to these on the previous Q&A and the one before. We said, I think our Q&A is doing a lot of long-haul flights. I've done a few myself. I didn't get any slowdowns, stutters, whatsoever. So I think we're still investigating. Marcel, I don't know if you have a cause or something.
Well, we know about one thing. We think it's related to the VFR map. We know that. So that's,
I didn't open that.
That is the best lead we have so far. Yeah, and that's been looked at.
Yes, and just to tell you, we've got like a wall of builds running, even very next to my office. There's Xboxes and PCs running the game with long flags all the time, so we can gather information and try to find the issues.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's another thing. We are going to also look a little bit more into third-party add-ons. Because we have a system in place that is sort of handling it when you run low on memory. But we need to really look into this more, because I have some real worries about this. That there's some, we see some airports that are like 8 gigabyte. It's not quite clear how that is going to be a smooth frame rate experience. So we're going to spend more time.
Okay. Great, thank you so much. Another forum question here. Do we get an ATC overhaul together with the redesign of the AI traffic system?
Overall, I would say that we are still trying to add layers of improvements. So now we're working on improving the vectoring, not for Simulated 10, but just after, so just to improve the ATC vectoring, and also we want to make use of the MSA data. The MSA is for minimum safe altitude, so that should be including on the flight point informations, and it will change the way the ATC is using the flight plans also. So layers of improvements, no reboots, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Great question on chat following our performance discussion. Is there an open telemetry mode or flag that we could set to help submit quality data to assist in various issues and bugs versus just a text summary or the steps to repro?
We are already collecting some telemetry. We are trying to put new information in the crash dumps. So when people are enabling the fact that we can collect the crash dumps, we'll try to get more information from that. I think we talked about that during the last Q&A. So we're already collecting some data, but it's the best way of improving something is to get some repro steps. Once we are getting repro steps, it's it's super easy for us to repro the issue, and B, once it has been fixed, it's super easy for us to check that it has been fixed. And those repro steps, it's not something you can guess from collecting telemetry, or it should be like super precise telemetry, close to a video capture, I would say. So it helps, but it's not the ultimate solution.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Seb, can you explain what factors are currently taken into account in thermal updraft model, and what are the future plans for realistic soaring weather?
Yeah. So in Simulated 9, it computes the amount of watts energy received by the sun, so which will depend on if it's day and night, how high the sun is in the sky, how thick of an atmosphere is crossed by the sunlight, if it's humid or whatever, if there's haze, etc. If there's clouds. And so at the end, there's an amount of watts remaining that hits the ground at a certain angle. And then you know how much energy you get. Then it calculates all sorts of things like how dark, albedo, basically, how much energy is reflected, how much is kept. This transforms into heat, and then you know how much basically your ground is heating up. When your ground is significantly warmer than the air, it builds up hot air, which then wants to go up, and here you have your thermals. Right now, this is Simulated 9. What we are adding with Simulated 10 is to make this a little bit more comfortable. We are blending in the wind factor, so that when you have absolutely zero wind, you will get less thermals. I know there's been a lot of requests when we added thermals that, hey, I'm putting wind to 0 or just 1. How come I get so much thermals? So now when you have low wind speeds, the thermals are gonna be much less than before. If you want strong thermals, put at least 5 knots of wind or something. You don't have to put a lot, right? Just enough, just not close to 0. We also made these turbulences a little bit weaker at higher altitudes, like I would say 20,000 and above. You will see less thermals. In Simulated 10, you will see more gusts, however, so be careful because we fixed the gusts. And something we're currently working on, but that will be not for Simulated 10. The problem with this system is that it's really working very locally and generates local thermals that don't combine when they go up and create like the air which goes up somewhere else it needs to go back down. It doesn't create any vortices, turbulences on the side of thermals, anything like that yet. So there's a research work going on which basically took the CFD of the airplanes and expanded that 20-ish kilometers around the plane So that's a really very big CFD running, and it goes pretty high as well. And we hope that sometime this year we'll get that to basically manage to simulate those airflows in the atmosphere to get nicer updrafts, nicer wind that can combine so that only bigger fields get updrafts when you are going higher up, that you get vortices with air going back down, and all sorts of different local wind effects that we don't really get from live weather, right? Live weather gives us wind gust and direction, but it's something a bit more for the area, and not really, you can't.
有人砸门。
What?
What's going on?
How are you?
Oh, what? I think you experiment what I had last session, right? Somebody asking you to leave. That's perfect.
Yes, more than likely. That's all right. Are you okay, Seb?
He can stay in the building. Hey Seb, there was a question about thermals taking snow into account. Do you want
it takes the ground albedo. I don't know if it has the snow layer. We will have to check that. And also you already have mountains going up and down, like when the wind hits the hill, which will also get improved once we have a more broader simulation. But that currently doesn't occur.
Okay.
Yeah. So sim update 11 maybe, or but not 10. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Seb. All right, next question. The simulator makes use of plane substitution systems, replacing a multiplayer plane that the player doesn't own with a model currently on the player's PC or Xbox. Currently, many planes end up as a TBM or Bonanzas, despite sometimes owning the same plane or even same liveries. Are there plans for Asobo to revisit the system or integrate it with the upcoming AI database of plane models and airline liveries?
So yeah, we know that we've got to improve the systems, especially for the moment if you're using FA-18 or some other jets, it's really not good. So we know that we've got to work on that. It's always the same kind of patterns that we were talking about between bringing new stuff and fixing, but we know that we've got to improve the systems.
Great, thank you. Last forum question here. Can we have a restore or backup feature for graphics and sim settings, profiles, and camera views? As we've all experienced, sometimes sim and world updates do funny things. So it would be great if we could reset or repair those settings, profiles, or views.
So yes, it's something we would like to bring. The problem is if we are doing that with the system we're having right now, it will not be compliant, and we will still have to improve the way we are doing the synchronization on the cloud and between PCs and consoles. So if we do that, it will have to be a drastic change. So it's needed to be thought and be very careful. So, but we've read the thread with Damien and we think it's super interesting, and it's definitely something we would like to bring in the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, actually, because I see it in the forums, this is the balance, right? People ask for new things, and I think it's totally legitimate to say, hey, there are some things that are broken right now. Go fix those first. And I mean, I just want to say we all agree. We want to have a perfectly stable, high frame rate, no stutters sim before we add more stuff. So, for example, somebody was asking about airplanes and air traffic. We've modeled a ton, a ton of different models. But if we just add them now, it's just going to make certain things worse. We need to understand at root cause, as somebody just correctly said, what are some of the things that are actually detracting the experience right now before we keep adding more stuff.
Great. Thank you, Jorgen Marcial. And bonus question here for you, Seb. I know, what are some improvements that are coming for ground friction and handling? I know you mentioned some new parameters.
Yes, so 4 new parameters coming in Sim Update 10. So basically 2 of them are going to give the possibility to eliminate or at least June, but we decided to cancel it out on our plane where we tested it. Basically, a old feature that we kept from FSX. FSX was canceling out all crosswind below a certain speed. I think it was maybe 50 knots or something. So at 50 knots, you had 100% crosswind, and then it was fading out to 10 knots, and then it was 0. The problem with that is that basically while you take off or land, the crosswind keeps changing, and it's very unnatural. So this is something where you can now per plane in the parameters for the plane say at what speeds you want this to happen. And so on the Cessna 172, we're testing this. So we basically canceled the effect completely. So you have a 100% crosswind, even if you're parked and or even you go very slow. So if there's a lot of wind, it can actually spin your plane around, of course. But so that's one of the new parameters. And the other one, 2 parameters are there to allow you to control basically how sticky your wheels are when they are rolling fast. So basically, when you are already going pretty fast during the takeoff, the sim was considering the wheels to be pretty much on rails, as if they were, slick tires from a Formula 1 car or something. Very sticky. And only the weight, so if you pull on the yoke, your plane gets a bit lighter, and the weight goes down, which reduces friction a little bit, but it's still static. So it means that as long as you don't push to the side strong enough, you're still on rails. And so what we did is there's 2 parameters now which allow you to basically make it so that the plane drifts off, because basically the wheel is spinning. So if you push to the side, it's going to drift off a little bit, especially with plane tires, which are they're not anything but I would say racing tires. And so we tested that more specifically on tail draggers, where it makes them, tail draggers will always be hard to land and take off, but it's a lot more natural and easy with that. So this is something we implemented on the extra 330 for the sim update 10. And so that, also plane makers have examples on how this works so that they can use it too. And then we will deploy on more based on feedback. This is a first step. These 4 parameters are first step on improving the ground handling. So more stuff will come after, but sim update 10 is going to be these 4.
Great, thank you so much, Seb. We do have a question about the local Legend 4 status update, so I think it's a great transition.
I've been looking through my emails because so the plane is done, and it's been done for a few weeks now, actually. And to our great surprise, Leonardo, who owns the license, has not signed the license agreement, which we've been talking about for over a year. So we are all a little bit surprised. Mike, who's been killing himself to get the plane in a great state, is sort of like, what's happening? So we think it's a day-to-day thing. I'm literally expecting it any moment, because they've said they have 2 people that need to sign it at Leonardo, and we're waiting for the second signature, I think. So it's and then we have to make a decision to put it out on a Tuesday. Obviously, it missed the coinciding with what update 9 Italy in Malta. So it's imminent. I just can't give you a date.
No worries. Thank you for the update. We appreciate that, though.
Leonardo, the Italian conglomerate that basically owns most Italian planes, not Leonardo Softhouse now.
Okay, thank you. We are on our roadmap slide here, Jorg, if there's anything else you wanted to talk through on this.
I just wanted to actually say that about the local legend. I'm like, well, the plane is done. It's quite fun. Our test department actually gave a very positive assessment of it. So it's coming. And I would just encourage you. So we just obviously did a lot of updates with what update 9, sim update 9, and now Maverick today. June is going to be interesting. So pay some attention to what happens in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
Absolutely.
But see, I don't know if Jane, if you want to spend a few more minutes answering some of these questions. I see so many questions not quite getting answered, and always bums me out. Do you want to spend 15 minutes? Jeb, do you have time?
It depends on if Seb and Marcel have time.
Very little.
Yes, I think Seb is just.
It's really late in France. Just that you don't know.
It is. We did get an interesting question. There are definitely more questions on the forums. We usually, pick certain top amount. Question was, would there be any way they could get text answers or replies in there if there's some interesting questions you want to answer post these Q&As?
What we do, just for all of you on here, like Jane typically sends me, because I'm reading, so I'm obviously trying to read it while we're going, but then she sends the log, and I read it all again, and I have no hesitation to answer some of the stuff on the forum somewhere.
Okay.
It ought to be answered. That's why everybody's here, right? We just can't. It's physically impossible to get through it all.
Right. Okay. Sounds like we should probably wrap it up then, so Seth can get off to his next appointment. But we appreciate you, chat. We'll try to follow up, perhaps in the forums, with a couple more answers here to some great questions we're seeing. But until then, we hope you have a fantastic rest of May, and we will see you a month or so from now. We hope you enjoy, of course, the new Top Gun DLC as well. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Great to see everybody. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
最后再看那预告片儿。对，今天主要ATR-72以及还有个信息比较重要，一会儿我说一下。中文是没提，但没提就表明没有计划，没有变化呗。对，我刚才想说就是这个，因为它这个问题牵扯到它微软那边要改整个的开发计划，这个是提到的。一会儿我做总结的时候会着重说一下。哦，直播结束了。